Hey book friends, so I have been putting together this video idea for the last couple weeks, maybe the last month. I have been doing research. I have been watching lots of videos to prepare to make this list. So you might have been able to guess what list that is based on the thumbnail and the title, and that's basically where I have been watching some of my favorite booktubers. Usually these are people I watch all their content, and most of them I am friends with, and I already know kind of where our book tastes overlap, and so I was able to gain some really good recommendations from their favorite videos of 2021. And so what I'm doing this year is I'm creating a list of 10 books that are my favorite booktubers' favorites. And I'm going to be getting a lot of the books from the library, but I'm also pulling them off of my bookshelves if I already owned them. So let's hop into this book list. So hi, my name is Angie. Welcome to my channel if you're new here, or welcome back if you have been coming for a while. Like I said, I am so excited to share some of the favorites of some of my favorites on BookTube and read them this year. And so I have a list down here which I'll be looking at, but these are in no particular order, but I will be linking all of the channels down below so you can go check them out if you haven't heard of them. But the first book I got off of April's channel from getting Hygge with it. We definitely overlap in historical fiction and some thriller, although she likes horror way more than I do. But anyway, the book that I was able to take from her channel actually was her #1 of the year, which I'm really excited to pick this up because I have been wanting to read it for a while. And that is The Other Bennet Sister, and it's by Janice Hadlow. And so from what I understand from her description and what I have read about this book, this is a Pride and Prejudice kind of offshoot book where it tells the story of a different sister. So it tells the story, I believe, of Mary, which she's the more of the quiet sister in the books. And in this book, she takes like center stage. So it says, what if Mary Bennet's life took a different path from what was laid out in Pride and Prejudice? And so when April was talking about this, she just made it sound so fun and almost like a sequel to Pride and Prejudice, where you just get a little bit more information, but it stays really true to the time frame and the writing style. And so I'm really looking forward to picking this one up. Okay, the next book on my list is from Tia and All the Books. I will put up a picture of her here. I love Tia's channel, and she reads really widely. Like, I feel like she loves a lot of different genres, a lot of like contemporary, romance, women's fiction, memoirs, which is what the book is that she recommended that I think I would really like. And it's Crying in H-Mart by Michelle Zauner. So it is a memoir centered around this Korean American woman, and it tells her story growing up in America under the expectations of her mother, and then her life, like going to college and all these things. And then it focuses more, I believe, on when her mom is diagnosed with terminal cancer. I haven't looked too much into that, but it sounds like she cares for her mother and is with her through the process of her dying. And it just sounds very emotional. That's how Tia described it, as just like a very emotional but well-told story where she just wrestles with all the different emotions of that, as well as just kind of who she is and her identity. And it sounds like a memoir I would love. Like, it has just an emotional depth that I really like in my memoirs. So I'm looking forward to that one. So Crying in H-Mart, that's on my list as well. Okay, so the next booktuber that I got a recommendation from is Sarah from Sarah's Nightstand. I have found some good recommendations from her, especially like fantasy recommendations. I think I first heard about Nevermore off of her channel, and I love those books. But she really liked Amari and the Night Brothers, and it's by B.B. Alston. It's a middle grade fantasy book about this girl named Amari. I think she's like 12 or 13 years old. And I believe the plot is around the fact that her brother goes missing, and she is wanting to look for him, and she's concerned that nobody else is really concerned about it. And then she finds something. She finds like this briefcase in her closet or something like that, and it opens up this whole new world to her. And I believe it's like this school or like this Academy of Supernatural Affairs or something like that, where it's like this tryout to be a part of that. So it gives me very much Nevermore vibes, but I'm not sure if that's really the direction it's going. But she has to try out against all these different people to join the bureau, I believe. I'm actually not quite sure, and I have heard nothing but good things from the people that I follow that read middle grade, because I don't read a ton of middle grade, but the people I follow that do loved this book. So I'm like, okay, I will read it. I'm sure I'll love it. So Amari is on my list for this upcoming year as well. So the next book on my list I got off of Amanda's channel. So Amanda of the Curly Reader, which I just love her channel. We did Historathon together like last February. Her and I definitely overlap in our historical fiction love. She also really likes middle grade. But the book I chose off of her list, even though it was really hard to choose off of her list because there was a number of different books I would have liked to read, But this one I already owned and I really want to prioritize this year. And she loved this book, The Only Plane in the Sky, An Oral History of 9/11, and it's written by Garrett M. Graff. And actually, Amanda wasn't the only one that talked about this. I believe it was on Sarah's best list, and Lindsey from Lindsey's Little Library. There's a number of people who read this last year because it was the 20th anniversary of 9/11. I didn't get to it because my fall was a little bit crazy, but I do want to attempt it this year, and probably in the fall is my plan. But anyway, this is a nonfiction book retelling the events of the day of 9/11. And it's an oral retelling, so it's all like the different recordings off of the different planes involved, or the Pentagon involved, or the firefighters at Ground Zero, things like that. It's all their words, and that just sounds really impactful, like hard to read, I'm sure, but very meaningful to read since it is part of our history as Americans. And so I've been really wanting to pick this up, so I was happy I saw it on Amanda's list, so I'm taking this recommendation from her and adding it to my list. So that one. Okay, next booktuber is Krista off of Books and Jams. You all probably know of her as well. She is great. I love her personality. She just has the sweetest, bubbliest personality that I just really enjoy watching her videos. We overlap definitely on historical fiction. She loves historical fiction and a variety of other things as well, for sure. But I got a historical fiction recommendation off her best of video, and the one she recommended was this one. Actually, she recommended 2 Kristen Harmel books, and I don't have the second one, but I do have this one on my shelf, so I'm going to pick this one up because it sounds really good. And it's The Book of Lost Names, and I meant to read this last year, but I didn't get around to it, so I really want to pick it up. It's a World War II book about a woman who is participating in kind of the forgeries surrounding the Jews, like how they're able to get forged documents and things like that. So it's definitely part of the resistance, part of fighting the Nazis. It sounds like this woman who escaped Paris into a mountain village is able to help in kind of the forgeries as they're trying to move Jews over the Alps into safety. And from what Krista was saying, it sounds like this book really focuses not so much on the war, but it focuses a little bit more narrowly on kind of this mountain town and how these forgeries worked and the risk involved in that. So it just sounds really good, and I've been wanting to test out Kristen Harmel as an author because I feel like I would really like her. So this is on my list for sure. All right, the next booktuber is Lindsey from Lindsey's Little Library. I'll put a picture up, and she's great. She enjoys historical fiction books for sure, but she also is really drawn to thriller books and mystery books and things like that, so I get a lot of my recommendations for thrillers off of her channel in addition to the historical fiction recommendations. So what she really liked in her best of videos is she really liked this book, which I just picked up in my latest book haul, so I'll link that above if you haven't seen it. I hauled a lot of books, but this is one of those. And this is called Falling by T.J. Newman. And I'm not gonna lie, it was a bit of a cover buy when I saw it because it's just such a pretty cover, but the story sounds really good. It's a story about this pilot who is contacted kind of 30 minutes before his plane is supposed to take off, and he is told that his family has been kidnapped, sort of idea, and so the people who hold his family are telling him that he has to crash the plane. He has to crash the plane in order to save his family, and then the story goes from there, and it's like, what does he decide to do with this whole plane full of people sort of idea. It sounds so good, so I'm looking forward to picking this up. So the next book I got off of Emily's channel, Emily from Novelle Novels. She's just wonderful. I love her personality. She loves historical fiction. I think that might be the theme of what brings all these people together, but she loves historical fiction, but she also is a big contemporary reader. And her top book sounded really intriguing to me. It definitely has more of a women's fiction contemporary book feel. And I don't tend to read a lot of those books, but this one just sounded really good. And the book is Someone I Used to Know by Paige Toon, or I'm not quite sure how to say the last name, but that was her favorite book of the year, and it has to do with a family. It sounds like there's this girl who did not want to have a foster brother, and she's a teenager and he's a teenager, and he is kind of interjected into her life, as well as this other boy in their teens, and they kind of form this like trio of friends, and then they go from there. Like they go off and live their lives and things happen, and then they are reunited kind of near the end, and it's just about their life and how they live it together and make different decisions. And it sounds really good in that found family connection sort of idea, but definitely sounds like some hard things happen. So I am looking forward to picking that up. I have honestly never heard of that author, and so I want to jump in and see if I like her writing style and things like that. Emily makes her sound so good, so I'm excited to give it a try. Okay, so the next booktuber I want to recommend is Emily. So it's another Emily, but this is Emily from Arrrgh Schooling. And I feel like Emily was one of the first booktubers I started following because she's associated with homeschooling. And so I love her channel, and she reads a lot of historical fiction and often like middle grade YA. So one of her favorite books of the year is a historical fiction middle grade book called When the World Was Ours by Liz Kessler. And it sounds really good. It's about these three, I believe, teenagers and their friendship as they are from different parts of Europe, I believe, and they spend kind of like one perfect day together prior to kind of the war starting or as the war is going on, and then they separate into kind of their own lives, how the war is affecting all of those stories. And the book itself, I believe, is about how they maybe try to come back together and how their friendship is just a driving force in each of their lives. And so it sounds really heartwarming. I haven't read too many World War II books that are middle grade other than The War That Saved My Life, which I also think I got off of Emily's channel. So I will definitely be picking that book up sometime this year as well. Okay, so the next booktuber I got a recommendation for was Angela from Literature Science Alliance. And her and I actually started our channels at the same time, my original channel and her booktube channel at the same time. And so we became friends that way, but she is definitely more into the science fiction fantasy. And like I've mentioned in all of my last videos or so, I'm trying to decide if I like fantasy. So I watched her favorites video of 2021, and I just took her top pick, which is this book, Mask of Mirrors by C.A. Carrick. And I haven't really heard too much about this book, but she's made it sound so good and so interesting. So it's about this girl who makes her way into kind of the main city. She's poor and she's a con artist, and she's trying to kind of make her way into, I believe, the like nobility and bring her sister-in-law or rescue her sister. There's some sort of sister plotline there, but it sounds like she gets wrapped up into this world where a lot of people have secrets. There's a lot of masks being worn, and then there is some sort of magic. It sounds like nightmare magic or magic associated with dreams. I'm actually not quite sure, but it sounds really interesting, and it is a first in a trilogy, I believe. So that sounds really fun, and I will let you know what I think of that book because I'm definitely picking that up sometime this year as well. Okay. And the last booktuber I want to mention is Chantel from Chantel Reads All Day. I love her channel. She's also a homeschooler booktuber, and this is her booktube channel. And I watched her video from the best of 2021, and she also reads pretty broadly in a lot of different genres that I don't pick up, but I love her love of Agatha Christie, which is another kind of goal of mine for the year, is to read more Agatha Christie. And the book she loved this year is called Peril at End House. The book is one of the Peril books, which he's the main detective. I think it's like number 8 in the series. And this is about a mysterious house and the mistress of this house. It sounds like she has had a lot of near-death experiences, and when he meets her, he notices that, and it sounds like maybe someone is trying to hurt her, and there is some association with the house. I don't really know more than that. With mysteries, it's more fun to just kind of go in a little bit unknowing. So I'm really looking forward to picking that up. I'm honestly looking forward to picking up a lot of Agatha Christie this year. So definitely tune into Chantel's channel if you like Agatha Christie, but I'm definitely picking up Perils at End House this year as well. I'm adding it to my shelves. So those are 10 books from 10 of my favorite booktubers. And I'm really excited to try out some of their favorites to just make it a priority. This is one of my lists that I will be working off this year. There is another one coming in a couple videos that I will be sharing with you, another list of things that I'm focused on for this year. But this is just a hodgepodge of different genres and books that I'm just excited to read and to make a little bit of a priority on this channel. And so I will be making a shelf. I think I have a space right here in my bookshelf where I'm going to be prioritizing these books if I pick them up. Otherwise, I'll just get them from the library. But nonetheless, I'm very excited. So I hope you like this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up, subscribe, all that stuff. Otherwise, I will see you in the next book video, and have a great day, guys. Okay,